The news alert was a stark wake-up call, a jarring interruption to the daily rhythm of life. For many, it was the first time the word recession had felt so personal, so immediate, flashing across screens and echoing through living rooms. Australia enters per capita recession. The words were simple, but their impact was seismic, reverberating through households, workplaces, and communities across the nation. The economic pie was shrinking, and each person's slice was getting smaller. Suddenly, the abundance that many had come to expect was replaced by a sense of scarcity, as if the future itself was contracting. The promise of ever-growing prosperity, a cornerstone of the Australian identity, was broken. The idea that each generation would do better than the last, that hard work would always be rewarded, was now in question. Morning news programs were filled with grim-faced experts pointing to charts and speaking of policy failures. The airwaves buzzed with debates about interest rates, government spending, and global headwinds, but the explanations offered little comfort. But for ordinary Australians, the crisis was felt in the supermarket aisle and at the petrol pump. Groceries, that once seemed affordable, now strained family budgets, and the cost of filling up the car became a weekly worry. The headline didn't create the problem, it simply gave it a name. It crystallized a growing unease, turning private anxieties into a shared national reality. It validated the anxiety simmering beneath suburban life. Conversations at dinner tables and in schoolyards shifted, as families wondered what the future would hold. The narrative of Australia as the lucky country was beginning to look like a fairy tale. The optimism that once defined the national character was now tinged with doubt and disappointment. The dream of a comfortable middle-class life was slipping away. For many, the security of home ownership, stable jobs, and a bright future for their children felt more uncertain than ever before. The economic jargon of per capita recession translated into a decline in individual prosperity. Paychecks didn't stretch as far, and the safety net that once seemed strong now appeared frayed. It signaled a slow erosion of the quality of life Australians once took for granted. Local shops closed their doors, playgrounds grew quiet, and public spaces showed signs of neglect. The headline was a pronouncement that the system was failing the people it was supposed to serve. Frustration spilled into the streets, as calls for change grew louder and more urgent. It forced a national confrontation with an uncomfortable truth, that the foundations of prosperity were not as unshakable as once believed. Across the country, people grappled with what this meant for their lives and their sense of belonging. The foundations of Australia's luck were being tested like never before. As storm clouds gathered, both literal and metaphorical, the nation faced a defining moment, one that would shape its story for years to come. There was a time when Australia was the envy of the developed world, a land brimming with opportunity, where the sun seemed to shine a little brighter and the future felt limitless. People from all corners of the globe dreamed of starting anew here, drawn by the promise of a better life and a fair go for all. The nation famously dodged the 2008 global financial crisis, emerging almost unscathed while other economies faltered. For nearly 30 years, Australia enjoyed uninterrupted economic growth, a feat that few countries could match. This remarkable resilience built a powerful global image of prosperity and stability. Australia became a symbol of what was possible with the right mix of resources, policy, and luck. The Australian dream was simple and widely shared. Work hard, buy a home, and secure a comfortable future for your family. It was a dream that felt within reach for most. But beneath the surface, the mining boom created a two-speed economy, where some regions and industries thrived while others were left behind. This prosperity masked deeper, structural issues that were quietly growing. We failed to invest in new industries or make existing ones more efficient. Innovation lagged and manufacturing slowly faded away, leaving communities vulnerable. The lucky country mindset took hold, fostering a sense of complacency. Many began to treat prosperity as an entitlement rather than something to be earned and protected. Now in 2025, that once bright aura has faded dramatically. The optimism that defined a generation has given way to uncertainty and doubt. The mining boom has cooled, and with no new growth engine to take its place, the economy has stalled. Once bustling towns are now dotted with empty homes and shuttered businesses. For many, the Australian dream now feels like a cruel joke, out of reach and fading fast. Young families struggle to pay bills, and home ownership is slipping away. Stagnant wages, soaring living costs, and a locked-out housing market have become the new reality. The gap between aspiration and reality grows wider every year. The world no longer looks at Australia with envy, but with puzzlement and concern, wondering how the lucky country lost its way. The cost of living crisis is a quiet storm turning life into a budget battle. Prices of essentials have surged, and wage stagnation compounds the pressure. Families are making difficult choices, cutting back on basics. The disconnect between effort and reward is demoralizing. Low and middle-income families feel the squeeze hardest. The mental toll is immense, affecting relationships and well-being. This isn't just a rough patch, it's a breakdown in the economic bargain. The promise of a comfortable middle-class existence is eroding. The cost of living squeeze is a social crisis fraying the fabric of society. Meet David, a 45-year-old electrician from Western Sydney. For years, David took pride in his work, building a stable life for his family and contributing to his community. But lately, the ground beneath his feet feels less certain. He's struggling to stay afloat as material costs skyrocket. Every trip to the hardware store brings new sticker shock, with prices for basic supplies rising faster than his pay. The jobs are still there, but the profit margins are shrinking, and every invoice is a reminder of how much harder it is to make ends meet. His mortgage repayments have nearly doubled, forcing cutbacks on family outings, groceries, and even heating in winter. The dream of financial security is slipping away, replaced by anxiety over every bill that arrives in the mail. Chloe, a primary school teacher, can't see a future in Melbourne's housing market. Despite her dedication to shaping young minds, her own future feels uncertain and out of reach. Her rent consumes nearly half her pay, making homeownership a fantasy. Each month, she faces tough choices: pay the rent or save for a deposit that never seems to grow. The idea of stability, of putting down roots, feels more distant with every rent increase. Maria, a 62-year-old cleaner, can't afford to retire. After decades of hard work, she finds herself still on her feet, mopping floors long after her friends have left the workforce. Her rent has increased, and she worries about her future. The thought of retirement, once a comfort, now brings fear. Fear of not having enough to cover the basics, of being left behind as costs rise and support dwindles. These stories are snapshots of a widespread reality. Across the country, families and individuals are feeling the pinch, their daily routines shaped by financial stress and uncertainty. From tradesmen to teachers, the feeling is of being trapped, working harder, but falling further behind. The sense of progress that once defined the Australian dream is fading for many. Personal accounts transform abstract economic data into human drama. Behind every statistic is a real person, a family, a story of resilience and struggle. They reveal quiet desperation in homes and workplaces. The stress is often invisible, hidden behind closed doors and polite smiles, but it shapes every decision and every hope for the future. These voices paint a picture of a society where the promise of a fair go is broken. The gap between what was promised and what is delivered grows wider, leaving many feeling abandoned. The economic squeeze is pushing older Australians towards poverty. After a lifetime of work, too many are forced to choose between food, medicine, and shelter. These are not isolated cases. They are the front line of Australia's wake-up call. The signs are everywhere: lines at support services, families cutting back, young people delaying dreams. The stories highlight a feeling of working harder for less. Overtime hours and second jobs are becoming the norm, yet the rewards seem to shrink with every passing year. They show the future becoming more uncertain. Plans for holidays, education, and even starting a family are put on hold as financial pressures mount. The economic strain is a human drama playing out across the nation. It's visible in every suburb, every workplace, every home where people are doing their best to get by. The promise of a fair go is being broken one life at a time. Each story is a reminder that behind the numbers are real people facing real hardship. These stories are powerful reminders of the economic squeeze. They show us the true cost of rising prices and stagnant wages, not just in dollars, but in dreams deferred and opportunities lost. They highlight the quiet desperation in homes and workplaces. The struggle is often silent, but it is deeply felt, shaping the lives of millions. The economic wake-up call is a human drama. It's a call for empathy, for action, and for a renewed commitment to the values that once defined Australia. The promise of a fair go is being broken, one life at a time. But by listening to these stories, we can begin to understand the true impact, and perhaps find a way forward together. Home ownership was the bedrock of the Australian dream, but today, that dream is a nightmare for millions. House prices have decoupled from reality and wages. Saving for a deposit can take more than a decade. An entire generation is locked out of a key wealth-building asset. The crisis affects the rental market, driving rents to record highs. Renting is becoming a permanent state for many. The housing crisis delays family formation and traps people in stress. The great Australian dream is now a nightmare of housing insecurity. It undermines the notion of Australia as a fair and egalitarian society. Blaming immigration for the housing crisis is an oversimplification. The real causes are entrenched in policy failures. Tax concessions have turned the housing market into a casino. A chronic undersupply of housing exacerbates the problem. To solve the crisis, we need honest conversations about reform. Australia's Long Party was fueled by the mining boom. The boom masked a creeping weakness, a one-dimensional economy. The party is over, and the economic tailwind has turned into a headwind. Our economy lacks complexity and diversity. We are not at the forefront of new, high-tech industries. This lack of diversification is a critical vulnerability. Our prosperity is tied to fluctuating commodity prices. We have failed to invest in new industries and the smart economy. Without new growth sources, generating high-paying jobs is harder. The end of the mining boom has left a vacuum. Wage stagnation is a direct consequence of this failure. We are paying the price for our lack of foresight. At the heart of stagnation is the productivity puzzle. Productivity growth has slowed, affecting wages. The causes include lack of investment and innovation. The economic pie has stopped growing, and inequality has widened. Corporate profits have grown faster than wages. Policy choices have favored capital over labor. Growing inequality erodes social cohesion and economic growth. A society of haves and have-nots is emerging. Opportunities are increasingly determined by parental wealth. This is the antithesis of the Australian ideal of a fair go. We must address these issues to restore fairness. Acknowledging problems is easy, fixing them is difficult. Political landmines and vested interests block reform. Housing crisis solutions face fierce opposition. Political paralysis affects productivity and education reforms. Short-term fixes are favored over long-term solutions. Shifting the national mindset is a deep-seated challenge. Building a complex, innovative economy requires change. We must move beyond lucky country complacency. The road ahead is uncertain, requiring coordinated response. An honest national conversation is the first step. The economic model of the last 30 years is broken. The future depends on courage and wisdom to build a fairer economy.